Hey, I'm Ben, and welcome to Canucks with Guitars, presented by LPD Pedals, Reno Fin Custom Guitars, Tesi Switch, FU Tone, PTM Guitars, and of course, our preferred retailers on the planet Earth, Flipside Music. Joining me tonight is, of course, Trev and Terry.
Howdy.
Not quite LTE yet,
Hello.
still in 3G. That's okay. That's okay. He's looking to upgrade eventually. That's all right, folks. Please subscribe if you're new, and welcome back if you're returning. Not bad. Only 2 minutes late. Not too shabby.
Pretty good.
Nice. So, yeah. Sorry, a little late. I was helping Dad. Update on Dad later. That's fine. That's part of it. All fun. It is live Q&A. Hopefully guitar-based. I saw Mark Taft in the chat. Mark's coming over tomorrow. Mark, you did leave something here on Saturday. And it does taste like blueberry. A fella had to try it. Just fella sets up for last night's show. Ooh, what do we have here?
Oh, blueberry.
There's Presley, California Customs in the chat. Great to have Seth on last night, and he may be at 100 subs by now. I don't know.
I think he was over 100.
Who else?
Probably
do we have?
99 and a half.
Probably. Who do we got in the chat here? We got Graphite Avec Cigars. We've got Ferd Burfel, Joe Alba, Patrick Treitz, Paul McNary, and the Cats, William De Silva, Randy Crooks. We got the one and only River Docs. Great video out today on Alan Collins. I almost said Albert Collins, but it's Alan Collins. Ricky Compton, of course, Mark Taft, Roadie to the Stars, and me. No, he wants to be, but he's my brother in arms. Ricky Compton in the house. Guitar Man 45, Doug Santinello, Max Josephson, Ricky Compton, Charles 75N, Dennis Ellis, Scott Brockway, Richard Nagamitsu, some guy named Terry's 3Gs, never heard of him. Scott Brockway, some guy named Symmetry, never heard of him either. Not even once. Yep. People talking to each other. Michael Krause, he dipped in to say hello. Yep. Hip Metalworks, good to see you. LRM Guitars, Tim Thomas. What else we got in here? There's Lee Elbarge himself. Awesome. Billy Baloney, BC Rich 581. I think I saw Unfucking Believable in here. Patrick Treitz. I'm just saying. And then a bunch of people talking to each other, so I'm just going to go to the bottom, down the bottom. Yeah, because that's what I'm working. There's Ryan. Kurt 5150. We got all the stripe brigade just showing up at once.
Yep. Van Halen bus pulled in.
You know that bus was striped. Apparently the stripe bus arrived. Nice. Route 5150, I'm guessing.
Probably.
Just guessing. It's been a long week, Trev.
55.
It's Monday. Just started.
Cushman NYC in the house. Dwight Bailey.
Like the Hitman.
Nice. Well, I didn't get a chance to pregame, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask while I, get more relaxed, because...
Mentally prepare for things.
Oofda. Yeah.
Oh,
Well-
by the way, nice new shirt, Ben. I just noticed.
Oh, I've actually... Walmart, Terry. Discounted down to $9, and I'm like, you know what? It's got a Telecaster-shaped object on it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I know it's one of those ones with, there we go, the F holes. Actually, this one has two F holes, which I'm trying to figure out. Since when did a Tele come with a raised pickguard over an F hole? It's like a hybrid, like 335.
It's a Starcaster, I think.
I don't know. I don't know. Is that? Oh, it is a Starcaster. Yeah, you're right there. It's not a Telecaster even. See, it just said Fender, and I went, "Gimme!" So,
Right on.
yeah, I
Fender
don't have.
wishes people played them loud.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that, Barry. I got your guitar on my shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, that would probably be that probably would have been an image of the mocha colored one.
Yeah. So we got. Oh, there's Sassy Cat. Didn't sell us right. So Brody's Jam Cave. First question I saw was from Graphite and Cigars. My friend Ronnie. I think Ronnie will let me say I'm not going to give out last names, details, stuff, but my good friend Ronnie, who's been, I was saying to Dad just before I came down for I was going to give a health update on Dad because, y'all have been asking about him, which, believe me, I appreciate. And I said, those folks in the Bobby Belt are sending thoughts and prayers. The hippies are sending positive vibes, and Graphite and Cigars send smoke signals. So, I went, okay. And he just went, okay, sure. So the health update on my father, speaking of which, before I forget, channel members and I figure in case you're watching a replay, we're only 7 minutes in, Trev. Channel members and patrons, there will be no Thursday vlog this week because I didn't do a Thursday thing last week because Pops was in the hospital for a week. What's up, Todd? Welcome. And so Dad went into the hospital a week ago last Friday. So 10 days ago, if you do math, which I kind of do, because he wasn't feeling well. He's like, I'm not doing well. Wasn't sure. We weren't sure. Is his body shutting down? Is this the end? Or you have gas? We don't know. We don't know. Not the gear acquisition kind. The other kind. So he went into hospital. They did a bunch of tests. They did find a couple of little issues, which I won't get into the details of, but they found little things that happen more often with seniors than happen with, say, teenagers. Let's go with that. So, you all wait. The older folks in the crowd, I know you're already like, yeah, I have an idea already. And then the younger crowds, he's going, what's he talking about? Well, ask Quentin James, because he knows all about it, I'm sure. He's probably had all the above. So, anyway, so they got Dad fixed up. He was in there for a full week. Came home this past Friday. And then, as a result, he's getting increased home care. Starting next week, he gets daily PSW visits.
Nice.
His physiotherapist was in today. We had a rapid response nurse on Saturday just checking the vital statistics and stuff. And spirits are great. Mobility is next to none. So hence me a little late starting. So he needed some help with some stuff. So.
Well, the mobility thing sucks, but the rest of the stuff is good.
There we go.
Yeah.
There's from right from the Ashby Mafia himself, Chad. I'm passing that along. Thanks. So Jim Ray Hawkins. So as a result, if you happen to see me in a live chat over the course of the weekend, which wasn't a whole lot, but there's a handful. Jason. By the way, if you like the mix on the intro tonight, blame this guy.
Lambert. Yeah, good job on that, by the way, Lambert.
So, here we go. What kind of health care does Canada provide? Well, Richard. Well, now you ask.
It does vary.
So right now, he's got a physiotherapist that comes in as needed, we'll say, because he just kind of sets the plan. He doesn't come. He's not a personal trainer. But he's like, hey, you need to do this, to help with this. What's up, Dane? From Zim's Guitars. And Quentin James, of course. And he does in-home visits. He's come back again next week to make sure Dad's doing it. We make Dad exercise, which is good. I'm going to start exercising too. That's free. Daily now PSW visits starting next week was 3 a week, 1 hour visits, free. Going up to 7 days a week, free. Also, we get respite care, which is a lovely lady named Janet. Shout out Janet. Janet is a godsend. She comes and has to listen to Dad's story. We love Dad's stories. We love Dad's story.
Right.
Women don't love Dad's stories as much, right? Did I ever tell you about the time I was hanging with Ronnie Hawkins? No. So, anywho's, so Janet comes in once a week, and that allows me to leave. And she comes in for 4 hours once a week to, as they call it, respite care, which is essentially tag your it, go mellow, let your brain relax, do whatever you need to do, or maybe you're doing banking, grocery shopping, blah, 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 blah. Allows you to get out of the house, is what I'm saying. So that has been in effect for a month and a half now, I'd say, Trev. I think a month and a half.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Maybe.
So as a stopgap, because Dad needs more care than he did previous to hospital visit, a little more, due to lack of mobility, there's one particular facet I can't deal with. And my faithful roadie, Mr. Mark Taff, said, I'll do it, Ben. I'm like, okay, dude. You know, it's a big ask. He's nope. So Mark basically hung out here all weekend, Trev. He was here all day Saturday, all day Sunday, pretty much. Yeah, he was here from like, I picked him up at like 9 a.m. Saturday. He left around 9:30 Saturday night. Shout out to Nancy for picking up Mark, so I didn't drive him home. And then Sunday, I picked him up around 11 and took him home after we had dinner. So he gets today off because we had a PSW, but he will be popping over briefly tomorrow because I got to go into town and get some meds for Dad. And then I'm going to pick him up and we're going to hang out here for a couple hours, do some stuff. And then, and then he's coming with me on this week's road trip too, which I got to, shout out Mark. Thank you, Richard. Everybody should shout out Mark Taft.
Mark!
Mark's like, Jesus, Terry, I watch with earbuds in.
All right.
And I appreciate all the kind words I've seen. So I'm just trying not to get a little choked up about the situation. But that's why for those that attended the Water Buffalo meeting on Saturday, Mark was riding shotgun right next to me. Mm-hmm. Did we do that? When did we do that? We did. Oh, so Trev, do you remember? Oh yeah. Okay, Water Buffaloes. Here's a follow-up. So Trev, remember the joke we made about the neighbor that plows the driveway?
Mm-hmm.
Moz will get him to do the lawn too because he does landscaping.
Yeah. And he's got the
So I'm helping. I was in the washroom yesterday morning. I was like, oh, Mark comes up. Neighbor's mowing your lawn.
Nice.
So
Time to drop
Apparently.
off another case of beer.
he said, apparently, if a fella drops off a case of beer every few months, a fella doesn't have to worry about his driveway or yard anymore. Just other than the trimmings, because he'll just do it with the big mower, and then I'll just go out there with the trimmer or whatever. And I was like, done, because he's got apparently he's got 61-inch wide cut, and it took him 20 minutes to do my yard.
Oh yeah.
And plus two, as he kept saying, no, it's okay. He goes, honestly, because it was Sunday morning, he goes, I was bored. And he says, I always want to do straight lines all across all three yards. And I was like,
Cool.
nice. I have no problem with that. I'm like, you don't like my flame maple finish because my bent blades?
Yeah.
So shout out to Aaron.
Sweet.
Shout out to Aaron, my neighbor. So, which was awesome. Yeah, it does help a lot, Lee. Well, that's the thing, too, because, honestly, that is one of the harder things to do, because if I'm mowing the lawn, I'm committed to an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how fast I can cut it, depending on how thick it is or what have you. And I'm not going to hear my phone go off if Dad needs me.
Right.
So, do I spend my respite care mowing the lawn? Well, it is therapeutic, but
Your
No.
exercise. Sort of.
yeah. Exactly. Ricky's got the same deal. Nice. I a lot more talk. So I don't know how much we've talked about guitars since we started, but I don't care. I'll be honest, I don't care. I haven't seen
Okay.
anything.
Our good friend Ryan, I apologize for missing the Water Buffalo meeting, but he was out guitar shopping and he got himself a new 12-string Martin, Ben.
Yes, I heard about this, Ryan. I haven't seen it because I was busy.
Send me a pic, Ryan.
Hence the previous conversation. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
I like 12 strings. Sorry, I like the idea of 12 strings. I think that's what most people are like, right, Terry? I like the idea of it. I like the concept. I don't like the responsibility. Thank you, Randy. Do appreciate that. Appreciate that a bunch. So, going up to Peterborough, Ontario this week, Trev.
Where I was Wednesday.
Yes. Well, the reason being, Terry, is because I get the Peterborough TV station, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like 1 or 2 shows a week that I happen to DVR off of it, I guess. I don't know, whatever. Because, it's one of those, your DVR is like, I'll just choose whatever channel has the best reception to record it on, whatever, HD, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I get the commercials popping up. I'm skipping through commercials. I'm like, wait, that was a music store, Trev. Wait. We have a mom and pop music store that can afford to make shitty commercials on television. And I say shitty because, like, I've seen YouTube videos that look better. But it has that nice soft lit porn look to it, like that.
Jeez.
Like, ooh, that's an HD Betacam for porn. Like, not that I would know about things like that. Allegedly. But I was like, oh, cool. And so I was like, this is a really cheesy commercial. And I'm like, I want to go there. So I'm going to take Mark along because, again, he'll be popped over Thursday because I don't have respite until next, or not respite, PSW's daily until next week.
Yep.
So, yeah. I don't know what they got. I'm not even going to go onto their website, Terry, because I just want to be a surprise.
No spoilers. Yeah.
No spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and they're on the west end. So this way, just pop on the highway, Highway 28, and then it's because it's at actually the west end of Peterborough. I don't feel like spending half my hour plus driving through Peterborough with 15,000 traffic lights because it's on the main drag on the way out of town to the west.
That feeds into my story for this past Wednesday when I went to surprise my aunt for her birthday. Trying to find a Chinese food place because my aunt said, oh, there's one that's buffet and eat in. It's like, oh, nice. We've been dying to do that. Absolutely no Asian food restaurant in Peterborough is open for dine-in. They're all takeout or delivery.
It's weird. What's up, DD Files?
That's going on, it seems to be, throughout all of Ontario. I don't know what it's like for in BC and other parts, around Trevor's area and whatnot, but everything in Ontario, there's no longer eat-in.
You can eat in Chinese food here in town.
No, you're pretty lucky then.
There's all the restaurants are eat-in. Yeah.
Randy
asked, how is the Explorer Fund progressing? Slowly. Incrementally. Slowly. By incrementally. I think I got a bit put aside. It's to get the nest egg that will either cover this year's StreamYard or the Explorer Fund towards the Explorer Fund. So because that's the other thing I wanted to get. Make sure we got the StreamYard taken care of as well. Yeah. It comes out around October, November, I suppose. But Max, yes, it was. It was a glass saxophone. So. And somebody asked, LRM had asked, what was the name of the music store? I think it's called Mars Music, like Maars. I think. But I don't want to look because I don't want any spoilers. That's how that works. We did snag on a pedal last week.
You were almost correct. It's actually MAAR''S music.
Well, okay, I forgot the apostrophe.
Brookdale Plaza.
So, So, we got some more Canadian content in the Tone Bunker. I think I showed it off last night, but I'll show it off again tonight. Made approximately like a mile and a half from Trev's front door. So I don't know. They're close. Same town. From Radial Engineering, part of their Tone Bone series, the North Star, Overdrive, and Boost.
It's a good pedal. I like it.
It's got a 3-way range switch. Charles 75N likes it on the low setting. I like it in the normal setting. because Charles is low and I'm normal. Trev prefers the high setting.
Go figure.
Well, honestly, Ben, it should be in the high setting for you.
No, normal.
Lifestyle choices.
Yeah, exactly, because of lifestyle
and it's got an
choices.
effects loop in it too, Terry. It's got an effects loop.
Oh, wow.
So you got an overdrive with effects loop and a boost. With the boost, we'll go up to 24 dB if you want, which I don't.
Holy smokes. That's a lot of boost.
Yeah, I got some here that are 28 to 30 dB boosts.
Yeah.
Look at you wild man, Lawrence. Ow. Apparently there's glue residue that sticks really well to the palm of your hand. Yeah, radio makes...
John.
Exactly, it's an always on setting. So, yeah, sounds pretty cool. We ran through some tones the other night offline. Myself and Charles and Trev, I think. Is that what it was, Trev?
Not last
Yeah.
night. That was on
Tuesday. Last Tuesday.
Right. After the NAS.
Because I wrapped up the NAS Canucks show and I'm like, hey, you want to hear some tone?
Yeah. It was good.
I don't really know, Patrick, if it's a preamp pedal or just an overdrive. I don't know. It says clean OD/boost. That doesn't make sense, Trev, because the whole point of overdrive is to overdrive your clean signal.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it works.
Yeah, I mean, that would pretty much make it pretty much a distortion pedal, period.
Well, that's the thing. It goes from what? Clean, overdrive, distortion, fuzz. That's kind of... Because if you stack enough gain pedals, you'll notice all of a sudden you're like, wow, that's a real fuzz tone. So, plug it in and find out. What's plugged in? Actually, I'm not. I just remembered somebody's resting upstairs. Somebody exerted a lot of energy. So, what's up, Blackjack Guitar?
Cheers, man.
Good to see you. Blackjack Guitar. That I mentioned it during he was the new guy at the Water Buffalo meeting, even though he's not a new supporter of the channel. He's been around forever and a day, but managed to make one with camera on and everything, which was awesome. And I thanked him for the kind message from my dad. But that was the funny thing, Trev, because we know him as Blackjack Guitar, and Dad says, "Hey, do you know blah blah blah?" I'm like, that name sounds familiar.
Jeez.
Right, and I knew somebody else with the same last name previous. I'm like, no, it's not him, because I thought, no, it's not him, because I'm thinking the other guy I met through Dad. So Dad wouldn't ask me, other than unless the brain slept in Trev, and I'd be like, if you're asking me if you know, but no. And then also I went, yeah, that's Blackjack Guitar. He's cool. He went, okay. My dad. Yeah, because Dad is. Which, if any of you folks are, I guess a lot of you are on the face space and have friended Dad over the last number of years, because that's what he does that thing, Terry. He says, "Well, if I'm a mutual friend," type thing. He just adds, So, and he figures, he's like, I don't know who any of these people are. I assume they're friends of yours. I'm like, they're all friends, Dad. Yes, they're all friends of mine. They're friends of yours you haven't met yet.
So if when you look at the common friends, if we get a couple of good hits, it's like, yeah, all right. Mazel. Richard.
Patrick comments, I noticed that Presley's California Customs has 100 subs this morning.
He was at 105. I checked.
105.
Wow, nice.
105 with the Humidex, right, Trev?
Right, yeah. Feels like.
It's 100, but it feels like 105.
So when he started the show, how much did he have?
72, 73?
Yeah. Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, and that's all you find, folks. We got 54
Yes.
people watching right now.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, that was fun. Seth's a good guy.
So,
It was one of those, Trev, like the minute he popped on the call before the show, I knew within a moment, I was like, damn it, we should have done this years ago. It's one of those things.
Yeah.
I wish I'd known it.
that's just the whole thing, like I said, over the years upon years that we've been in the YouTube guitar community, there's a lot of awesome people there that you think would be awesome to have on screen, but just don't have the resources to do so, or are simply shy.
Yep. That's true. Yeah. Like, I can think of a few people in the chat that I've asked on previously, and they're like, no. Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah, and I think that's where the channel member thing and Patreon member Zoom
because
calls,
it's
I
not
think,
a
are
public
nice.
video or anything. It's just we're just hanging out.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a relaxation morsel.
It's all right, Presley. Your internet still isn't as bad as Ben's. Not to throw Ben under the bus, but I think we're all getting sick of our local CRTC and whatever else not and our political government not getting on the asses of ISPs to actually run internet around to everyone.
Oh, I blame the internet providers themselves. I don't blame anybody else but them.
Yeah.
You have one fucking job. Connect that wire to that wire. Right along this road. That's all you have to do. I don't care which company does it. One of y'all better do it, though.
Yeah, and that's the inherent problem is there's lots of people that are in your position that, literally have the internet access like, X amount of feet from their place, but the ISPs are so greedy about making a profit, they're not willing to make that connection.
Terry, my sister, who lives much further out of town than me, is getting 5.
What?
Yes. Because they're going across all the concession roads, right? Anything that's a concession or one of the north, they're doing all the major grids first, and then you fill in. Like, come on!
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, yes. What else? What else we got going on? I might shoot a Soda Pop video tomorrow because I didn't get a chance to shoot it today. Hello, Stephen Monk Michelli. Welcome back.
Nice.
Anybody got any gear questions? Curious on?
Richard asked one.
Blackjack? No, not real. In theory, that's what we're working on right now. Basically, for those who aren't looking at the chat, Blackjack Guitar just had it. Is your dad able to walk or not? He was able to up till recently, with great effort with a walker. But basically, his right leg doesn't want to work from the knee down, more or less, or calf down, we'll say. So it's kind of a dead foot, like your foot's asleep all the time, Trev. And it's just got a little progressively worse. So as he needs to build up arm strength to be able to compensate, to hold himself up. And so literally his physio for me is going to be he stands in front of his bed with his walker, tries to take steps in place, and then do 10 steps, sit back down.
Yeah.
Of course, he can't do it. It would be 5 steps and 5 attempts to pull your foot off the floor. But yeah. But this time last year, he was able to walk all the way out to the kitchen, and it's just got a little worse, and then he was able to get to the washroom, and then it would be basically, it would take all of his energy to get to the washroom, and then it's like, do I have enough energy to get back from the washroom? And a couple times, there was a couple, I'm like, we're like, it was almost a hospital visit. He's like, I know. Yeah. What is your favorite amp? And why isn't it the Friedman Dirty Shirley Mini? It must be because you haven't played one yet. I don't know if I played that one yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Do you mean that the mini as in the actual mini tube head, or do you mean mini as in like the micro head that's solid state?
No, it'd be the mini, the like 20, 30 water.
Yeah. No,
the micro ones, I don't consider. Those are amp-shaped objects at best, Terry. They're
Yeah.
not the same. You know,
Novelties.
like if you mention Friedman, we got to talk at least. Yeah, it's got to be tube. It's got to be tube. And Billy, right back at you regarding your mother. Well, see, this thing, because I generally just play through a clean amp as a pedal platform, I am going to say, let's say what my favorite amp would be, Trev, is what I found I had the best, my favorite amp that I got the best tone through that I've tried, because if you told me, hey, you have to play directly into an amp for your show tonight, and we're going to play a good rockin' show, I'm going to go with the JJ, the Friedman JJ, or JJ Jr. I really, really enjoyed that stuff, because I've always enjoyed Jerry Cantrell's tone. But the JJ has, it's got a juicy breakup that I like. I don't know, you know, because I do like that Marshall breakup, but I'm a tone snob, and I can't handle stock off the shelf. I can't buy off the rack tone. It's got to be boutique. It's got to be altered, made to measure, you know. That I would say would probably be my favorite as of right now. But as far as for a clean pedal platform, I don't care. You know, basically, I don't care. Well,
There's not too
clean,
many
well,
amps
a
out
clean
there
Fender
that
and a
can't
clean
be
Marshall,
clean.
basically, for my stereo sound, a clean Fender and a clean Marshall, or a clean Marshall and a clean Vox. Because I get, but if I was going to go direct, probably JJ. The Jakey Lee amp was cool as well. The one that was the one that was in red Tolex, right, Trev? You're the resident. I'm going to say on this panel, you're the resident Friedman expert, because you have to listen to John Shane go on about Friedman all the time. So you're the resident expert.
It was confirmed at my local little guitar shop after the NAMM that he had definitely confirmed it was coming. That was some of those top secrets Dave's not talking
So
about.
I did play the Jakey Lee, the full size one at NAMM, the last NAMM I went to. See, I don't remember Dirty Shirley's or Twin Sisters, because Dave basically has all the amps in the amp room, and there's a amp switcher, and I remember because the Jakey Lee was separate, and we tried that, but I remember trying the JJ. I don't know if I tried a BE or not, because I tried the JJ. I'm like, okay, there you go, that, and I'm like, yep, that's a tone, And of course, they're already pre-dialed in for awesomeness for the most part. I wasn't about to tweak a knob.
I was going to say, you're talking about when you went to NAMM, right?
Yeah.
Hit the booth, yeah.
And then as soon as somebody walked in the room, I'm like, I'm done. Because that's like hanging out in any shreddy guitar booth, Trev, because it's all the guys. And I'm like, no, I'm not here to make Instagram videos or to audition for one. I can't do that shit. I just want to, play some punk rock riffs. I find, Trev, that's the best thing to do at an amp show. Play punk rock riffs, because then he's playing punk. You don't have to be technical. You barely have to be in tune. Just bash the fuck out of it. Yeah, there you go. I'd like to try a Fryette as well. I'm expecting incoming comment from Bent Tom regarding a Metropolis at 3, 2. if Tom's lurking.
Yeah, that reminds me, before you actually came back, I was saying to Trevor, I said I just had the trainer at 3, and I was only playing for about 20 or so minutes, and my ears are ringing like a mofo. And I was saying, I really gotta wonder when wattage comes into play with triggering tinnitus or whatnot.
And, the 30-second delay between chat and video, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying. There it is. So, I the night before, I think Charles. Nice, Mark's what? Oh, see, now Mark's got it right. Now, for those who don't know, one of the largest fishing tournaments in Southern Ontario was this past weekend in Trenton, which Mark. Okay, as long as I've known this man, Trev. As long as I know this man is down, because that's opening weekend too, right? So they have the fishing derby opening weekend. That man is there, like whether he's competing in the derby or not, he's at least out into the water.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
As long as I've known him, and I first met the man in 1986, is what I'm saying. This weekend, because somebody was hanging out here all weekend, is now finally casting a line.
Yeah, perfect.
So, if you didn't shout out Mark before in the chat, folks, do it. DJ Play Nice is here. He goes, again, Terry, I'm wearing the earbuds. What's up, T-Cake? Yeah, so fish on, Mark. You need it. You need to catch a pike, right? Because Greg, his son, already caught a pickerel, the first pickerel of the year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, but that gets me back to the night before Dad came home. I think Charles had messaged me. He said checking in, and he said, did you crank up the amp one last time before Pops is home? I had the Marshall, Trav, and we flipped her down into the 20-watt mode because when we did it virtually, I was in the 5-watt and cranked it. So we put her into the 20-watt and started cranking on it to I was getting some very nice AC/DC tones in here. I had a very absorbent, to the point where, because the amp is usually here and it was facing like the camera, I was standing over there, like next adjacent, so it wasn't blasting me directly because it was a little loud sitting in the chair. So I was standing over yonder a bit. So playing a Lester Paulfus shaped object into a Marshall cranked. I went, yep, that's the thing. That's certainly a thing.
That's what I'm here for.
Pike are crap to eat. No, muskog are crap to eat.
No, the thing with pike is you don't want to get too big a fish. The bigger ones don't taste as good, but the smaller ones are.
Yeah, true. Crappies don't taste crappy.
And then, you'd be fishing for pike or pickerel. That's what's a lot. This is what this area is known for.
Walleyes and muskies.
Walleye. This is the walleye capital. Like, people come from all over North America to fish the Bay of Quinte for a walleye. Why? But hey, I get it. I go all the way to California to look at guitars that I'm not going to own. So at least you can keep the fish, Trev. Even my buddy T-Bone down in North Carolina, because he's a very avid angler, and he was talking about he wanted to come up here for a fishing trip. He's like, cousin Doug. I'm like, nope, wrong cousin. Talk to Doug. Doug is the one that goes on fishing trips. Me, not so much. I'll watch. I will cook the fish. I will eat the fish. I do not fish. What's up, Doug Strong in the house? So Terry, do you have an all-time favorite amp as a random follow-up?
Out of all the amps I've owned, again...
Doesn't have to be one you even owned. Do you have a unicorn, maybe, that you lust after?
Oh.
That could be your favorite amp. Like your Plexi guy is, Trev. I want a 71 Plexi full stack, blah, blah, blah.
Let me think about that.
All right, he's thinking on it. Trev, favorite amp?
Pink Taco. I mean, I could get the BE, but if I had the BE, I'd probably just set it up with the Pink Taco sound for the most part anyway, so I could probably...
Might as well save on a channel cost or two, right? Sure.
I can't come up with an actual amp in regards to one that I haven't owned that I'd like, because quite honestly, there's too many friggin' amps on the market. And in regards to a past amp...
But you mean too many in a good way, not in a derogatory way.
Yes.
Let's clarify, folks. It's a good thing that there's too many to choose from. Yep.
As I was saying to Trevor earlier, it would probably be an amp that would be probably based on a 6L6 power section now.
Okay.
In regards to actual previous amps owned, and I wish that it didn't die, but I really loved that Viper Tube 60 I had. I had the full double paddle controller with it. It was tube plus the modeling aspect. It was, to me, PV screwed the pooch when they gave up on that series.
I agree. Yeah, because out of the box, like the original modeling amps, when they were coming out 10, 15 years ago or whatever, PV had the best one, in my opinion.
Yep. The
Right?
deluxe.
For whatever reason, yeah, the preset. I like their presets better than the other presets. Trev, is what I'm saying.
Right.
I played the Marshall Code. The Boss Katana is a little different because the Boss Katana is almost like a helix built into an amp. There's much more going on there. Yeah, Viper. The mod, they had a hybrid tube setup, Richard. So yeah, certain circuits would run through a 12AX7.
Yeah, Richard, when the Gen 1 Vipers came out, they initially came out with solid states that went up to 100 watts. They had a 15, a 30, a 75, and then a 100, and I think even a 120, which were put into 212 combos.
I had the 15 and the 30.
Yeah, I had a 30. And then eventually
the 30 just kept up with the drummer if he wasn't too aggressive. Just.
And then what happened was PV turned around and said, "Oh, if you think the solid state version is better, check out the tube version." And they launched a tube version that had a 60-watt combo, I believe a 120-watt combo, and a 120-watt head. I think the biggest reason why they dropped the line was because a lot of the 120-watt versions were having issues with problems.
And I think they dropped the line altogether, like the whole Viper thing altogether, because the first gen was the best gen. They just kept shittier with every iteration.
Yeah,
stop doing shit.
Yeah, and then now I had the Viper VIPs.
Yeah, the VIPs weren't as good.
Nope. The key thing that really made the Gen 1s was actually their amp selection.
Yeah,
and the fact that the Fender Deluxe specifically, that Fender Deluxe setting was almost so point on to an actual real Fender Deluxe. If you're looking.
Yeah, and I remember the Triple X was a really good one.
Yeah.
Their Mesa Boogie. Because I remember that's the one I used when I tried out with the band One Day to Live. I ain't schlepping no heavy amp. I didn't even have I didn't really have a real amp. Did I have a real amp? No, I didn't. Or did I? Yes, I did. Okay. I did already own the half stack, but a fellow wasn't about to schlep the half stack over to the rehearsal unless he was in the band. So a fellow showed up with his 30-watt Viper, plugged in a guitar, gave it to the other guitar player to dial in a sound to complement the band, which, again, he used the Mesa Boogie, gave me a triple rec type. I'm playing drop C, Trev. You've heard the stuff,
Oh, yeah.
Here, gain, chug, perfect. And I used that for the first couple rehearsals, I think. And the funny part is because he tweaked the preset, and he's like, "Do you know how to save presets?" I'm like, "No." "How long you own the amp?" "Years." He's like, "Yeah."
Yep.
So we just left the amp on at the studio for like a week at a time. I didn't care. So
yeah, Richard is saying it right. Like the Gen 2 was worth nothing without the big same para pedal, and that's what happened. Was when my Gen 1 tube died, I still had the large pedal, so it was just common sense. Not to mention, it had the ability to do acoustic guitars and bass, which I think it was also a bit of a downfall.
Yeah, because it wasn't good.
No,
because the bass in the bass sims didn't track at all. Yeah, my sister now has a Gen 1 30-watt with the Sampera 2 pedal, the deluxe pedal. Mm-hmm. So you have a volume pedal and a wah. Just when I got all that stuff off my buddy a couple years ago. See you, Ryan.
Cheers, Ryan.
Yep.
So, yep. They were decent.
Yeah.
I remember playing the Fender ones. I really didn't like that Marshall Code. Ugh, that sounded like ass.
Right.
Yeah, like back in the day when I was looking to actually upgrade to a better amp when I had restarted out, basically my mind was PV Viper, Line 6 Spider, and the Fender Mustang.
Adios, Doc.
And like, I remember trying the Mustang, and it was like, oh, It's great if I want only Fender sounds, but that's it. And I also found it to be too trebly.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't seem to have much to it. And in the case with the Line 6 Spider, too digital. And that was where PV kind of had that kind of perfect balance because it had
what? The little spiders,
and digital.
For the amount of hate they get, at bedroom volume, it was okay. They just didn't sound great when you turn. As you turned it up, all it would do is point out all the flaws in your tone.
I think.
At least that was my experience. Although, I will say, I saw a lot of kids, the teenage bands, Trev, playing the gent stuff. A lot of those guys were running Line 6 Spider heads, 100 watt heads. Yeah. Now, granted, once they started gigging, they lasted about 15 to 18 months before they vibrated apart, sitting on top of 412 cab at volume. Hey!
Cheers, Boner.
Boner Jams. Even all from NOLA. Want to stop in and say hi? Have a great week, everyone. The one and only legend, Boner Jams. Under the Bus Network every Wednesday night and sometimes Saturdays. Check them out, folks. Under the Bus Network. Always fun. They're giving away a guitar.
Yeah.
Oh.
A PRS.
I can't remember the details, but they're giving away a guitar. Coming up soon. Yeah, PRS.
Somebody else right now, I was just watching the video earlier. I can't think of the channel name, but they're giving away as a promotion an Epi 59.
Nice.
Yeah, I was like, ooh.
Hey, John.
Cheers.
Good to see you. Good day down in Melbourne.
Nice.
I'm sure it's a nice fall day. Morning. Oh, early
Richard
morning.
was asking, anyone use a Marshall code?
No, God. Nobody. I didn't see one, but I watched a lot of guys go through those Line 6 Spider.
Oh, my God.
They would just vibrate apart, Trev. Because they're doing that, cha-chun, and you just, I'm like, circuit boards and digicals, they're not liking it. They're not liking it. They really should have shock mounted the grommets are your friend. Just put some grommets between the circuit board and the chassis. Give it a little flex.
It reminds me of...
Oh, yeah, the Silver Sky. That's what it was. Right, Silver Sky SC.
Oh, nice. That reminds me of what year was it?
Gary.
What was it? Was it a couple years back? It was when Marshall did the code and Fender did the Mustang too, and everyone all over YouTube watched all the reviews, and they were pretty much number one and number two for the most shittiest launched amp products almost of all time.
Yeah. You know what? I hate to say it, but there's certain companies can be innovative and certain companies can't, Trev.
Right.
Like Gibson, just fucking stay in your lane, right? Clearly, people just want the same Gibson you could buy in 1959. That's what they want, or as close as you can get to it. What's up, Paul Ewing? Marshall, just stick to tube amps, Trev. Or a solid state equivalent. You can do a solid state equivalent, but can you just do like the MOSFET ones you did back in the 80s? Because those things kicked ass. I'm sorry. They are a good sounding amp. For a solid state amp, they got you a lot of the way there, Trev, and it didn't sound solid state. Remember, Terry, when I was doing the live streams in 2018, I was playing the solid state Marshall and using the B52 down here as the 112 cab. That thing sounded great. Remember, we even had the Tone King pop in one night. He goes, wow, your tone's on point. I'm like, solid state Marshall just turned up loud. Pete Thorne, Trev, Pete goes on about he wishes he still had his MOSFET head.
Yeah, not a bad entry level.
Yeah, it did a very plausible rendition of a Marshall head and pretty damn easy to dial in. That was the other thing I found I was like, wow, this is really easy to... And guess what? I got that head, Terry, from Richard Shanahan. And Richard Shanahan got it from our friend Jason from Lambert Drive Studios.
Oh, nice.
Because
Around comes around.
Rich not driving at the time, and me, I believe, working in Napanee at the time, he said, "Hey, can a fella swing through Belleville and pick up a Kijij deal?" And I said, "Sure." I'm like, "Well, who am I meeting?" And he wouldn't tell me who it was. And then he finally, it's Jason. I'm like, "Fuck, I've known Jason for years." Because, well, Terry, in all fairness, Jason has had, and like Liz, he had a closer relationship, like, as I met him through One Day to Live. Like, he was another member of the local scene, but I hadn't actually met him yet. And then he came out to one of our rehearsals one night, and he had recorded and produced the album that they released prior to me joining the band, which was good enough that I liked the material and stuff and the sound of it, Trev, that I want to join the band. That was one of the reasons. And Jason and I have stayed friends ever since. And so, when Rich, I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I showed up and snagged the amp, took it to Rich's place, plugged it into a 410 cab from the Seafoam Bastard, which was a Fender DeVille, I want to say, Trev, which is a 410 combo. And he didn't like dislocating his shoulder every time he was doing load-ins. So he decided to remove the amp out of it, make it into a head cab combo, which was really cool. And he even got, remember, Terry, he got the metal brackets from Fender, which, they swing up, they latch it on, Trev, so you can lean an amp back and not have your head slide off, right? Which look really cool. Way overpriced for what those pieces are, just metal brackets, but still, they look cool, and they got Fender embossed in them, because, Mazel. Of course you do. Of course Bo has a Marshall Code 100.
But
I bet you Bo also has a MOSFET 100 laying around from back in the day that he forgot he even owns.
Yeah, and exactly. Billy had said there just a few lines up. He said Marshall needs to do what Fender did with the Tone Master series.
Yes, yeah, actually, yeah, like a hybrid type setup where it's solid
and they
state.
did do something similar.
So, yeah, I want to say, because like the Tone Master, because it's solid state, yes, and it's modeling, but it's not a modeling amp.
Yeah,
which it's more or less, it's a solid state amp, Trev, but instead of doing, let's say, vert or actual circuitry for the preamp circuit, we'll just do a bunch of algorithms to mimic the preamp, and then you still have your physical power amp section, which, all right, if you can write code, honestly, half these fucking pedals, it's code that makes it sound as good as it does. It's coding. So I understand. I don't understand how typing in, Terry does, because Terry's with AMD. Apparently you do random letters and fucking numbers in a keyboard, upload it into a guitar pedal, and it does shit. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. But whatever. I'm ignorance is bliss, Trev.
It's the emulation aspect, and that
exactly. And those Tone Masters sound pretty damn good. Yeah. And the key, they still sound good when you crank them up, because that's what a problem with a lot of these amps. They don't sound as good when you crank them up. They do things, whereas a tube amp, as Trev knows, the more you crank on the loudness, it just sounds better. Yeah, it just sounds better. Whereas a lot of other ones, you start to, no,
getting into muddy water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the same thing as well too with the Tone Master series is it's at upwards of half of the weight of the tube version.
Right. Well, yeah.
So.
Yep. There you go.
Oh.
Bo confirms it has MOSFET, blew it up in the 80s. Well, there we go.
Oh wow. But yeah, that was the only thing the code was actually.
Because you don't tubes weigh a bit. So the transformers to run the tubes, that weighs all the weight.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if
and speaker.
I'm curious, Trev, if the weight of modern speakers versus vintage, because there was a time you'd open up and you'd look, and those speakers were rather small magnet, very thin metal, and then we got into these robust cast chassis for speakers, as opposed to just a pressed sheet metal one. Mm-hmm. you know, and then the magnets got real big, you know, and yeah, I'm curious, like, but then, you know, because then we get into the Alnicos and we can do aluminum instead of cast iron, you know, or whatever, steel, whatever the, you know, so we're able to do stuff in that respect. You know, what are we going to get into carbon fiber speakers?
Maybe.
You know, at least for the cone,
Chassis.
not the cone, but the shell. No,
Chassis.
I don't know what you call that. The chassis, the
I-
grip.
Chassis.
I don't
The
know.
chassis, yeah. I
The
see
infrastructure?
that as
You know,
basket structure, yes.
the
That
basket.
is the
The basket. That sounds plausible. I like that.
Just
Let's use that, folks.
basket.
no,
61
that's actually
people
what they
watching.
call it, basket structure.
Speaking of which, holy shit, we're an hour in. We should thank the patrons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much longer I'm going to go tonight because I got to keep an eye on Dad.
Yeah.
Oh yeah!
Yeah.
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Funny story. So related to the water buffalo meeting. Remember, Trev? Because Dad's got the Parkinson's, so you know he can't text me. It's hard to call me. You know, how does he communicate, right? So, Dad being, we need a PA system. We're not getting a fucking PA system, Terry. We're not getting a PA system.
Mm-hmm.
So then, you know, we spitball baby monitor. You know, because they.
Yeah.
But then I'm hearing everything. I don't need to hear everything. I just need to hear certain things. So that's not an option. We came up with an option, gentlemen.
Brilliant option.
Wireless doorbell with 150 meter range.
Mm-hmm.
So I can take the receiver, put it anywhere in the house. So, like right now, it's plugged in at the other end of the room in the studio. And then at night, I take it into my bedroom. The only problem is it's got a damn nightlight type feature, where as it gets darker, it's got a... We thought about walkie-talkies, but what if the batteries die? You know, then you're up on the batteries all the time. So this way, plugged in, on those doorbell, you know, the amount of ding, like how much, it's just sending a quick signal. It's not going to drain on the battery. So it's been a great system. You rang, you know, perfect. So yeah, I want to thank the patrons because they don't have toques in the chat, and they are a big help to the channel. And if you want to become a patron, help support what I do, I appreciate it. And you can do it at that address. And I want to shout out LRM Guitars, T. Ricky, Guitarman 45, Cousin Todd Flowers, Doug Strong, Randy Crooks, Mo Hogany, Fruitcake Tony, Blackjack Guitar, Keith H., Paul McNary and the Cats, Other Left, JP Page 2, John ZD351, Bent Tom, Jeff K., Symmetry, Gear Junkie 35, Charles Green, Unfucking Believable, Charles 75N, Hot Rod Josh, and Mr. Anderson 89.
Sweet.
Nice.
What's up, Rock Daddy?
Good group of fellas. Cheers, Rock Daddy. There's a fella who knows loud.
John says, I was going to suggest a long string tied to a body part he can tug, but the doorbell is a better idea.
Hey, Charles.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks.
I appreciate that.
Cheers, man.
Put it into the battery. The other problem is I bought one of these, I don't know, it looks like a half the length AAA battery, double, you know, for the doorbell, because it's like doorbell battery. But I can't get the damn cover off the damn thing to see if it's the right size battery. Because I want to have a backup battery available, you know. So I bought a battery, but I also kept the receipt in case it's the wrong battery.
There you go.
It's quite the list, John. Quite the list. So, another thing that we did, we'll wrap up probably the last story of the evening I can think of. So, Dad's Telly went on an adventure last week. We got to wait for the people in case they're having heart attacks. Okay,
Yeah.
I know. It normally stays in the studio, but what happened was because I did have some free time last week. It started on Tuesday. I'm sitting here Tuesday morning. I'm watching a replay of a race because I got the NASCAR podcast that night, and friend Travis over at Long Quay just starts sending a fella photos of Charvels, Jacksons,
Ding.
Kramers. Ding, ding, ding. No caption, nothing. So I said, new shipment in? He replied, yep. I said, I'll be over later. So I went over and hung out there for 2 hours. I loitered at a music store. Well, I didn't loiter for 2 hours because I ended up coming home with a pedal. Because apparently, if Ben, you put Ben in a music store for 2 hours, he ain't coming out empty-handed. Especially if there's some channel member money into the gear fund, sitting there. So I don't know. It's part of the Explorer Fund currently in there. It's tied up in a few investments at the moment, but it can be liquefied if needed. So, talking, I got to know a few more of the employees over there and stuff. Younger guys, because I want to pick on their brains. Find out if we have a future in guitar playing. And folks, we're good. We're good. Given there's got to be others like these people. Hey, what's up, Ben?
Very nice.
It's another great channel to check out, folks. Check out Ben's World. Terry, you want to throw the link?
And Michael B.
You're already doing that. Yeah, and Michael B.
Yep.
Ben's. A lot of Ben's stuff you'll hear recorded. He either records it himself or Lambert Drive Studios does the recording of his stuff as well. He's part of the roster, if you will. I say I'm loosely affiliated because I claim to be. Jason hasn't told me publicly to say, stop saying you know me. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm part of the Lambert Drive Studios family because he knows digitals and he can hit the on and off button and I can just play, Trev.
Perfect.
And he's a pleasure to work with, and Ben's a pleasure to work with as well.
Yeah. Thanks.
So, where's it going? Yeah. So, talk to the guys. Good group. So, Sassy Cat, thank you very much.
Right on.
So I realized, Terry, and you can attest to this. Fortunately, you got a buddy that gets in some nice gear from time to time. So otherwise, you wouldn't get your hands on said type quality gear. Trev,
Yep.
You've got a high-end music store you're able to loiter in, so you're able to get your hands on some nice stuff. Now, the one tangible is if you know a place that has vintage gear. And we know it's probably, this many in North America where you can walk in and there's a plethora of vintage. You're like, holy crap on a cracker. This is stuff you don't see. What am I looking at? Joe Bonamassa closet? It's one of those situations. So, being that we are in a small town in Ontario, more than 100 miles outside of Toronto, which is the closest place you're really going to see this shit, unless a wily veteran musician that happens to still got his gunslinger from back in the day. We're talking rare occasions. You're more likely to have a friend, Trev, go, hey, Uncle Gary passed away and I got this guitar. I know you noodle on, do you know anything about these things? And that's how you would come across a vintage guitar, just, more than likely than not. Right. Terry, same deal, right? A friend of yours reaches out, hey, family, because that's how they get passed on. So I decided, let's take Dad's telly, over one day. So happened a couple days later, Mark and I are hanging out here, and so let's go over to Long and McQuaid and take the telly over. So I walked in, down on the rental counter, because Trev, they got the rental counter at waist level. So 23-year-old Gavin stops resume. There it is. Yep, it's one of those. Oh, look at this. And it's funny because the way they got, I'm sure it's you're along McQuaid too. They got very strategic lighting, over the point of sale and stuff. So when I put it, literally, it's like a spot, oh, it was hilarious. And so, half or more of the employees, basically, if there was an employee there that knew how to pick on a guitar, have at it. What's up, Matthew? Good to see you, my friend. So, got to give these guys a treat, and they all enjoyed playing Dad's telly. And you want to talk respect, Terry. One of the guys said, "Do you mind if I tune it to drop D?" Have at it. To which then he went on to play the Andy Timmons piece from that pedal show that made Dan cry. Which I thought to myself was, Trev, my first thought is, if you know that piece of music, that means you watch YouTube. And since you watch YouTube, you should be subscribed to me. Right. So, yeah, so they had a bit of a treat, and that was fun, because it's like putting smiles on guitar players' faces. It was great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you told that story on the Zoom call, I was like, that's awesome. Because, that's something that, like you said, it's just something that could, like you said, you weren't there very long, but a handful of people got to experience an actual.
Yeah, we're there half hour, 45 minutes or something like that, I'd say. And
No.
well, and it'd be like, let's be honest, Terry. Like if I said, "Hey, I'm coming up for a visit. Do you want me to bring anything?" I'm pretty sure that's the first item you're going to ask me to bring.
Pretty much, I would say so, yeah.
And I get it, And I've had friends say, "Hey, do you want me to bring in the order?" Well, there's no way you take it out of the studio, but can you? I'm like, yes. I used to gig with it. Mark was asking me about that. He said, "Did you ever actually gig with this guitar?" And I said, "Yes," until I got a telly to gig with, which was my humbucker telly. Until I got that, or the guitar before it, technically. Yeah, because I needed a Telecaster for the band. Because at that time, Rich was playing a 335 an awful lot, and there is that nice telly 335 is a really nice sonic sound. See you, Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's there. So I figured it got to the point where Trev, okay, I'll use it through rehearsals, because who cares, It's not like you're out in public with it. But use it through rehearsals. Then it came up, we had some gigs, and I'm like, dang it, I don't quite have the money in the budget yet, and I don't want to buy like an Affinity telly. I just, I need something that I know will stand up to some gigging. So that's when I looked at the Modern Player. I thought it would stand up to gigging. It would not. It did not last a gig. So, because the last set of that gig, I pulled out the 67 telly because that was my backup for the gig. Which, there's something ironic about that, Terry. When you show up to a gig with a $450 made in China guitar and your backup is a 67 telly.
Yeah,
Really,
definitely makes a lot of people
like,
scratch their heads.
Shouldn't it be the other way around? No. That was the same show. It was funny, Terry. That was the same show where, at the time, Rich had purchased a hand-wired replica of a Plexi. There was a guy who worked in the military here, Trev, in the electronics division, and as an aside, built tube amps.
Oh,
Okay.
nice.
Yeah. And so he bought 100-watt Plexi replica. I believe it was 100-watt with an oversized 212 cab. Like it almost looked like a 412 cab, but it was like a 2.5, we'll say, And we were doing this gig. He was playing through the Fender, so I was going to play through my MOSFET 100 head. And a fella didn't want to take a 412 cab, so since I was driving Rich to the gig anyways, I said, "Hey, can I borrow your 212 cab?" He said, "Of course, buddy." So we show up to load his gear into the van, Terry, and he's like, "Well, if you're going to borrow my cab, you might as well take the head." Mazel, Trev. Right? Now, we set up, we do our sound check. Sounds good. Like, yeah, that's a nice sounding amp. I don't think I hadn't played through it before. I'd heard Rich play through it, but I hadn't actually played through it. See a Blackjack? And so, funny thing is, Trev, we set up for the sound, we do the sound check, and then you got like an hour, we'll say, before we actually play.
Yeah.
So, of course, during that hour, because I know I'm going to be playing 3 to 4 sets and not going anywhere for several hours, there's one lifestyle choice and another lifestyle choice. And that was the first time I also did a third lifestyle choice because, and so by the time I got on stage and started playing, the headspace was much different than it was an hour previous, right?
Well lubricated.
So I'm standing, we're playing. I'm like, fuck, Trev, my tone's on point today. I'm sounding good, right? I'm like, oh, I am playing so well. I know it's the hands, Trev. It's all the hands. And then I turn up. No, it's that hand-wired fucking Marshall behind me. That's why I sound so good. Right?
Funny thing, right?
So I will say, yeah, quality build. There's definitely a thing. That's and that's and I'm just using it as a pedal platform. But my God, my pedals have never sounded so good. And I should have, Trev, at that time locked that in the back of the mind. Ben, you sound really good using a clean Marshall as your pedal platform. Because really, it's now until this year I've really realized, man, I sound really good through a clean Marshall. So, but based on lifestyle choices, by the next day, Ben had forgot exactly how good he sounded.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. So,
Johnny Love with a good comment there at 9:13 mark.
I only realized that with the smaller population, large size Canada, you guys probably don't have the same amount of access to used gear and reverb eBay. No, as you do in the UK.
Depends.
It's hard to say because I would. Well, no, I guess it's different now. It's like shit's available everywhere. I was going to say because not as much stuff would have filtered, like more stuff filtered north of the border than across the ocean. At least initially, yes, but probably by the 70s. That would start, like 70s going forward, that would change because trade embargoes had ended. And plus, a lot of musicians were dragging vintage gear over there. That's a good question. It is, like, compared to the US, it's ridiculous how little gear there is. Because I wouldn't even say it's 10%, Trev. It's 10% the population roughly, but I would say it's more like 8% the gear.
Right.
Just because a lot of shit just not as many brands are carried in Canada, for instance. So therefore you have to import it. So it's going to be less people are likely to own that product in the end run. That's what I'm saying. So,
right.
Yeah. So, on that note,
I was just going to add, speaking of which, I read recently, I believe it was Guitar World or one of those other publishers online. They had recently did an article, 3 best low wattage tube amps. And guess which one of the 3 were on the list?
What?
One right behind you that you had just recently got.
The VHT?
The VHT was one of their ones.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's a nice little amp. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
You know what the thing is? The funny thing about that amp, Terry, is I'm not totally happy with my tones out of it. Okay? But it's one of those things, and you'll know this, Trev. You've heard John DeShane mention it. Like, if you like the sound of your tone, you're not going to sit well in the band mix.
Right.
Because you think about it. Like, even Pete's tone, it's a little focused, just a little. Like, he's got a very well-rounded tone, even in his demos. But you can tell how it will cut through a mix because he does make sure that those certain frequencies, and that's the thing. And that thing, it will definitely sit well in the mix, assuming it's loud enough. But it really translates well over to video.
Yeah,
I found, with all the compression and me shooting on my phone, like I'm not blaming any YouTube because I'm limited with the way I record, but for what I do and the way I do it, I've noticed because if John DeShane, I'm throwing him under the bus, but I'm using it as an example. If John says I sound good on a video, I'm really taking his opinion, whereas, okay, I'm going to throw you under the bus, Terry. Oh, that sounds great. All right. I think your standards are a little lower than John's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's nothing against either one of you or whatever, but I take it more to heart in that respect. Like Bo, if Bo says something, I know Bo knows tone. Bo knows tone. Bo, you need that shirt. You really need that shirt.
Same thing as JP Page too.
Yep. Yeah, he's another one. If he says that tone's on point, I will take that as a compliment. Yep. Or like if RJ comments on a video, either one, Mad Raj or RJ Ronquillo, both of them know tone.
Yeah, so, the premise of it was basically low wattage combo and with the most versatility in like effects loop, line out, blah blah blah. So the VHT6 that you had was the one. The other one was actually the Black Star HT5 Mark II
Mm-hmm.
combo. I can't remember what the third one was, but it was just like, wow. And I was like,
It's true what John says. If you're happy with, that's really all that matters. True.
yeah.
But you do need to, especially in a band situation, you really got to make sure you are heard and you can hear yourself, which I fought with for years. And so, that.
Coming up Sunday.
Oh, this Sunday,
No, yeah.
Mother's Day. My sister will be joining us.
Hey.
And then the next Sunday, we'll be doing my birthday hang on the 21st.
Nice.
It's so much fun.
Also, finally remembered it. Fucking meant to mention it an hour ago. This Friday, 8 p.m., we have Rob from Tesi Switch coming on. There's a new pedal coming out Friday that we can't talk about. But all I will say is it's from one of my favorite manufacturers. The pedal's being released by, I'll say one of my top 5 favorite pedal companies. So we'll narrow it down somewhat. Who is collaborating with an artist and has already collaborated with that artist previously. So, and let's just say that was a very successful collaboration. So I would highly recommend tuning in this Friday if you're in the market for a pedal, because, excuse me, it's kind of a limited run. It's a collaboration. So they're going to be hard to get our hands on, but we know a guy at tesiswitch.com, and why pay full price? Use my coupon code, because how often, Trev, unless you know somebody that owns a music store or is an uppity up at a music store, you're not getting a discount on a new product that comes out that's going to be in demand.
Unless you're fixing his espresso machine.
Exactly. Not unless you're fixing his espresso machine. Or Terry does his IT. Terry's like, unless he needs to check his email. So, yes.
No, actually, what I'm doing is I am posting a link to the video I mentioned about the giveaway for the Epi 59.
Also, you might be able to figure out what company it is because it's Rob from Tesi Switch coming on. So if Rob carries that company's line of pedals, you might be able to figure it out. And it looks like it's going to be a cool pedal. I don't know exactly what it is, but I got some vagaries and I'm doing some sleuthing around, and I think I might know what it is, but I don't know.
John Deshane's thrown out a guess.
No. It is not. So, on that note, that's been Trev. This has been Terry down below, hanging out in the basement of Canucks with Guitars. Even though I am actually Terry's upstairs, I'm downstairs, so I could go. There we go. Now we're right. Yeah, that's Terry. Anyways, so
give Ben a pat on the head. Weird.
Hey, hold those doors open. Thanks to the Mod Squads for moderating and stuff, and thanks everybody that donated tonight. Really appreciate it. Thanks to all the channel members and patrons. Click the join button, please. It really helps me keep doing what I'm doing. Thanks for all the well wishes with Dad. Keep them in your hearts, folks. I really appreciate it. He's fighting. Yep. He's fighting. And yeah, be good to each other. Happy tone chasing. And of course, just don't litter. Don't.
Cheers. See you, Dale.
Yeah, Dale at the end. I'm sure. Thumbs ups.